Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to connect the dots on some massive, invisible shifts happening right beneath the surface of our modern world. We are living through a fundamental transformation in how we work, how we manage talent, and how technology interacts with our autonomy. Let's jump right in and look at the invisible architecture of our daily professional lives in a completely new light.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the invisible metamorphosis, redefining freedom and change.
So, think about it. We usually celebrate freedom as a hard-won physical victory, right? Something fought for out in the open. But in the age of AI, that battlefield has actually moved indoors. It's completely out of sight, it's silent, and it's systemic. Now, obviously, AI brings incredible power and efficiency to the table, speeding up our decisions like never before. But, and here's the catch, that is exactly where the subtle threat hides. You see, invisible algorithms are now steering our organizations, and they do this by prioritizing absolute efficiency and measurable outcomes. Anything that deviates from the norm, it just kind of slowly fades from view. It creates this invisible steering. It's not blatant coercion, it's just optimization. And the crazy part is that it feels exactly like freedom, while actually subtly guiding our every single move.
Believe it or not, this idea isn't actually new. Everything changes, nothing perishes. The Roman poet Ovid wrote that in his masterpiece Metamorphoses, literally 2,000 years ago. Recently, there was an exhibition at the Rijksmuseum highlighting his work, and it is just incredibly relevant today. Ovid's ancient philosophy hits the nail on the head when it comes to our current systemic evolution with AI. We aren't watching the destruction of work or society, we are witnessing its profound metamorphosis. Everything is just changing shape.
Moving right along to Section 2, the new economic rules. We're looking at bottlenecks and AI valuations.
Right now, the market is treating the energy crisis like it's just a temporary bump in the road. The Economist actually calls this living in la-la land, which is pretty fitting, because beneath the surface calm of the markets, a much deeper shift is happening. Energy isn't just a hurdle anymore. It is quietly becoming the true, absolute bottleneck for all future economic and technological growth. And that is especially true as these massive, power-hungry AI data centers keep scaling up.
And this evolution is totally flipping the script on how market rules work for corporations, too. Just look at the recent stock market reaction to the information services company Wolters Kluwer. It wasn't just a response to standard quarterly figures. No, it revealed a completely new economic pattern. Companies are no longer being judged just on their current performance and cash flows. The new gold standard? It's whether generative AI can fundamentally disrupt their market position. Your current profits honestly matter way less than your future vulnerability to AI.
We're seeing this whole systemic shift crystallize in the recent team-up between PwC and OpenAI to totally reimagine the office of the Chief Financial Officer. This isn't just a basic software upgrade, guys. They are introducing the AI agent. And really focus on that word agent. This is a proactive digital colleague, an autonomous actor. Imagine a digital auditor that independently plows through files, spots patterns, and prepares findings, all while you're still pouring your first cup of coffee in the morning. It's no longer just a tool you use, it's a colleague you work alongside.
Which brings us to Section 3, the human paradox. Value creation versus access.
83%. An IBM study recently found that 83% of CEOs believe AI success relies entirely on humans, not just the tech itself. Now, on the surface, that sounds super comforting, right? It makes it sound like your role as a professional is only going to get more and more important. But here is the paradox. 30%. While those exact same CEOs are building organizations where AI takes over huge chunks of work and core decision-making, only about 30% of those leaders think their employees will actually need reskilling for new roles. So think about that. AI is shifting to the absolute core of our workflows, but leadership somehow assumes the vast majority of the workforce won't need to fundamentally change what they do. That is a massive, massive disconnect.
And that leads us right to the new divide in today's workplace. We are way past the days when simply having access to technology gave you an edge. AI tools are everywhere now. They're user-friendly, and a lot of them are totally free. So the playing field hasn't leveled, the game has just moved deeper. The real inequality today isn't about who has access to AI tools, it's about who actually has the capability to create tangible, distinct value with them.
All right, on to Section 4, talent and system. Fixing the foundation.
You know, most companies fundamentally misunderstand their own talent issues. They think they have a talent acquisition problem, so they just pour massive budgets into hiring and recruiting. But really, they have an allocation problem. They are failing to effectively assign the brilliant talent they already have sitting right there. We barely manage the actual quality of assignment decisions.
like who works on what project, under what conditions, and exactly when.
To solve this, researchers are developing models like the Human Capital Allocation Framework, or HCAF. I absolutely love this concept. It approaches talent distribution as allocation intelligence. Basically, it turns the old archaic guessing game of who should do this project into explicit, data-driven deployment decisions. It's all about systematically ensuring that the right mind is applied to the right problem at the exact moment it's needed. It's a real game changer.
And we're seeing this desperate need for systemic thinking everywhere, including diversity, equity, and inclusion. As we head toward 2026, DEI is no longer just about having good intentions. It is a hard systemic architecture problem. Take this recent article about a networking breakfast meant to empower women. They gathered to network, while male staff served them. On paper, sure, it looks like a well-meaning correction, but in reality, it accidentally exposed a huge systemic flaw. Why is such an artificial setting even necessary in the first place? Because as the event showed, the higher up the corporate ladder you look, the fewer women you see. The system itself is broken, not the intentions.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Moving with the Times, Adaptability in Action.
So how do we navigate this? Well, we need to look to the next generation for the blueprint. We've got to adopt the mindset of what OpenAI calls the ChatGPT class of 2026. These are Gen Z students who've had generative AI baked into their studies since 2022. And what's fascinating isn't just that they use AI, it's how they act. They totally ignore slow governance. They aren't waiting around for endless business cases or multi-layer management approvals. They just build. They experiment rapidly. And they combine technology, creativity, and execution at a lightning speed that traditional, sluggish organizations literally cannot comprehend.
But here's the thing. Adapting fast doesn't mean becoming something you're not. We can actually take inspiration from a really unexpected source here, the Rolling Stones and the recent track, In the Stars. If you listen to it, you don't hear some desperate attempt to just keep up with the latest trends. You hear a band that has spent decades moving with the times, from 60s blues rebellion to massive stadium rock to today's layered sound, without ever losing their core identity. That's the secret. Long-term relevance comes from adapting to every new era while holding firmly onto who you fundamentally are.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. Since, as Ovid reminded us, everything changes and absolutely nothing perishes, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. How do you move with the times without losing yourself? Think about your skills, your organization, and your identity in this rapidly evolving AI era. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this massive metamorphosis. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll see you in the next explainer.